Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the For Love of Drag podcast. My name is Astala Vista. I am a drag queen, aka a Republican's worst nightmare.
And I'm Jimmy Boone, the drag producer.
And we are going to be your hostesses with the mostesses. Yes. So for this pod, Jimmy, let's tell everybody what we're going to be talking about. For the Love of Drag is going to be not just about drag, but how we met each other, all the crazy things we've gotten into during our 10 plus years of drag. And there are a lot of stories to tell, that's for sure. Just a little bit more behind the scenes.
Everything. Yeah, I feel like we've done a very good job of kind of keeping to ourselves and not telling a lot about us behind the scenes and everything like that. So I'm very excited with this podcast to let everybody know a little bit more about us, let people know what we do behind the scenes, how we started Drag Queen Entertainment, how you started as Astala Vista, how we met, everything in between. I'm very excited for all of that. What are you most excited about with the podcast?
I think I am most excited for people to see what goes into drag behind the scenes. I think we have been a little more sheltered and not out there. And I think a lot of that is because we've been working our butt off to bring drag to places that it's never been before. And let me tell you, there is some resistance when you try to do that. So we'll be talking a lot about all of the trouble we've had bringing drag to new places, the amazing things that have happened by bringing drag to new places. There is a lot to cover. So we're going to be bringing in special guests. I am very, very, very excited to show people what really goes on behind those stage curtains. So where should we start? You know what? Who even are we? Let's start with how we got together, where we met, how we fell in love.
They really don't know too much about us.
You're very, very right.
They may know a little about Drag Queen Entertainment, some of the numbers we do, but who are we? What have we built?
Well, let's talk about how we met. Let's start there, and then we'll ease our way into how drag came into our lives. And
should I take the reins there since
yes, I'd say you could take the reins there since you were the reason, I guess, we were meeting today. So how did it all start, Jimmy?
So I was at the ripe age of 22 years old, scrolling through a lovely app called Facebook. I know, a gay on Facebook. Imagine that. So I was scrolling on Facebook, and there used to be this thing on the right that said, people you may know. And there was a very attractive gentleman by the name of Joe who I saw on Facebook. And I clicked add friend, and about a week later, we went to lunch at the local Panera Bread. I'll never forget it because I went there for lunch and ordered lunch, and the person I went to lunch with didn't order anything at all.
I wasn't hungry.
Yep. So that's how that started. Cut to the following day, we kind of realized that we were into each other. And you were with somebody at the time. I had just gotten out of a serious relationship.
I was with somebody that was a little bit younger than me, and I kind of realized within like 2 weeks of being in that relationship, I am not meant to be with somebody younger than me, that is for sure. So kind of called that relationship off real quick, and then we kind of just we lesbian moded. Let's be real.
We did. It was, I guess, not to be too cliche, but love at first sight?
Yeah,
it was like
two horny gays, love at first sight, whatever we want to call it.
We met in April, and I think by June, 2 months later, we were shacked up living together.
We were living together within 2 months. Let me tell you what that's called, everybody. A horrible idea, okay? Don't do that. This is not an advice podcast. This is a drag podcast, all right? Needless to say, it did work out very well for us. But yeah, we were shacked up really quickly. It was me, you, and my dad, his dog, and then eventually a couple of cats all living together under one roof.
A few months after that, and then another cat, another cat, another cat.
It was like a really fucked up episode of Three's Company.
Yeah,
it was good stuff.
Yeah. So, and then shortly after that, at that point in time, we were both working, quote unquote, regular jobs. I had a retail job at a grocery store. You were doing hair.
I was a hairstylist.
We were balancing work life and everything like that, and a relationship. And then eventually it got to the point where you were 19 at the time when we met. I was 22. Cradle robber, sorry about it. But beyond that, once you turn 21 years old, we ended up going to our first drag show together.
Yes, but I think you're skipping a lot of stuff, so hold on right there, okay? Let's talk a little bit. Like 19 years old, I was doing hair. Let's talk about how we got out of that. Let's talk about you leaving your job. So let me tell you right now, I was doing hair. I went to hair school. I thought I was going to be the next Paul Mitchell, okay? And then I went to the salon. I was doing hair for about 2 years in the salon. I think I did hair school at 17. By 18, I had like a full book. But what I did not realize is when you live in a small town in South Jersey, you are not going to be doing this fierce, fabulous blue into green hair and these crazy cuts. You're not doing any of that. What you're doing is a bob, layers, and then brown touch-ups with highlights. So
A lot of moms.
a lot of moms, a lot of Beths, a lot of Karens, the occasional Lauren who wanted, like, can I get one fun streak of color? But, like, hair was boring as hell. So I realized quickly, I was like, I don't want to be a hairdresser for much longer. And that was when I kind of combined my love for hair, makeup, costuming, obviously. And that's when I started to get into drag a little bit. But you were working at ShopRite at that time, right?
I was. I had a full retail career that I had started when I was 16 years old at the lovely grocery store ShopRite. I worked there for a good, I think, 9 years or so. It got to the point where I was working 6 days a week, making very good money, but I was never fulfilled. I'm sure that I was happy with what I was making financially and everything like that, but I never felt like what I was doing was what I was meant to be doing. I was just, at the end of the day, putting money in somebody else's pocket and selling like bananas and ground beef. So like that's not what I thought my
and
calling.
packaged goods. Don't forget that.
I didn't think that's what my calling in life was, though. So I was always kind of looking for something, and I always felt an entrepreneurial spirit, but I didn't know the avenue that I necessarily wanted to put that in yet.
I think we were both feeling that. Like, what do we do? Here we are. We have this one pivotal chance in life before we are entering the late 20s to, like, kind of figure something out. And that is when I found out about drag. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm obsessed. This combines my love of hair, my love of makeup, my love of sewing, my love of performance. I was actually supposed to go to a performing arts high school. I ended up not going because me and my stepdad didn't get along very well, and I ended up moving in with my dad. But I found drag, and I was like, this is everything I wanted. So that is when I decided it was time to pull out of hair. A little too early, I'm not going to lie. I shouldn't have done that yet, but I was like, it is time to fulfill my drag passion. And that is when we kind of like dove in head first. I'd say probably about like 5 months into being 21, right?
100%, yeah. So you turned 21 in November. By like April, I think we went to our first drag show shortly
Was that
after that.
Milk and Vivacious?
Yep. So it was right after season 6, I believe it was, of RuPaul's Drag Race. It just aired on TV or was currently airing, and some of the people were touring throughout Philadelphia and whatnot.
Yes.
So we went to, I think it was exactly right, Milk and Vivacious.
It was,
but
yes, it was Milk
somebody
and
wasn't
Vivacious.
there.
Milk was not there. It was their drag daughter or sister, Skimberly,
Yep.
who
House
ended
of
up having
Milk
to
or something
replace
like
them.
that.
Yes, House of Dairy.
Dairy.
House
Yep.
of Dairy,
Yep.
yes. So that was the first time I was like, oh my God, my love for everything that I love, theater, hair, makeup, it is all in one. Jimmy obviously loved drag as well. He was obsessed. We were both obsessed. We watched RuPaul's Drag Race before, but like seeing that first live drag show just like lit a fire like you never believed. And that is kind of when I decided I was going to be doing this full time with my life. And Jimmy slowly but surely followed. I kind of had to reel him in a little bit. I was like, listen, babe, you're at ShopRite. If this doesn't work out, we'll get you another job. We'll make it happen. But until then, I need somebody to help me with this drag career.
No, 100%. And I remember shortly after the Milk Vivacious show, this is where I think I really kind of fell in love with the art form. We went to another season 6 kind of tour party.
Iconic.
And it was just about almost the entire cast. We got to meet Bianca Del Rio, Ben de la Creme, Darian Lake, Adore, Courtney Act, literally
Gia
everybody.
Gunn was there.
Gia Gunn, everybody. And I remember seeing Adore Delano perform for the first time, and she was like a live singing rock star. And up to that point in time, my exposure to drag was very limited, but I was only under the impression it was like, you know, pageant queens and feathers and this and that. But to see somebody who was like a full-on like rock star, and you could see the different routes you could take with drag, that was an eye-opening experience for me. And I think that right then and there is when I was like, there is something to this, and we need to kind of dive into it more. And I know you had a huge passion with both your like performance background, hair background, fashion background. So I was very happy that it kind of all mended together and that we were able to kind of kickstart Astala Vista shortly after that.
I totally 100% agree. I agree with you with Adore as well. I absolutely loved her. I hate to admit it. You know, my favorite drag queen when I first started, it was not my favorite anymore. I'll just say that to say the least. It was Sharon Needles, everybody. Yikes. Yeah. So she was actually the one that I watched on RuPaul's Drag Race season 4 that really made me realize drag can be whatever you want it to be. So I will give her a little credit for that. I was able to say I can do whatever I want in drag, but after that I kind of just fell in love with making myself the queen. I wanted to see what I could do. And yeah, I guess the rest is her story, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. So shortly after that, Astala Vista was born, I guess you could say, right?
Astala Vista was born in her backyard with a thrift store dress and a lawnmower, taking a photo mowing the lawn. That was my first photo shoot, wasn't it?
That, and then I think the same day we did a photo shoot of you sitting very promiscuously on a
on
train
the
track.
railroad
Yep.
tracks in a dress that didn't fit me from the thrift store that was safety pinned in the back, and a wig that was $13 from Amazon.
Same
and when
wig
I
for
told
both
you,
photos, I think.
I thought I was the girl. There wasn't another girl in this world that was ever going to amount to me sitting on the train tracks in Berlin, New Jersey. And yeah, I guess that led me to the diva you see today. So something worked out. But that is how we met. That is how we got together, and that is how we fell in love with drag. So once we fell in love with drag, Jimmy, let's talk a little bit about how we started Drag Queen Entertainment, how we got into this, how we started to make this not just a passion, but a career.
I would love to. Before we do that, do you think we could take a little break?
Yeah, let's do that.
Perfect. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the For Love of Drag podcast. I am Jimmy Boone. We are here with Astala Vista. And before our break, we were just getting ready to discuss the creation of Drag Queen Entertainment, our production company and talent management group, where we produce drag shows all over the United States, as well as manage different drag queens all over the place. So, Astala, do you want to talk about a little bit about how you were working in Philadelphia right after you started doing drag, and then how we came to start bringing shows to New Jersey?
All right, so let's chat. Yes, we're in love now. We found drag. We love it. Then it's time to start performing. So where did we start? We started at Drag Wars in Philadelphia, did we not? That was my first. No, okay, let me back it up just a little bit. So my first performance was at, oh my goodness, In and Out? What was it called?
Club Revolution.
Club Revolution. I don't
In
know
and
what-
Out's a fast food place.
You're okay. You just called me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie,
I
but
could
I
go
would
for
love
them,
a
but
double right now.
They're nowhere near us.
Where did I get that from? Okay, you're 100% right. It is called Club Revolution, and that was my first performance. I believe a few months after we seen that drag show, right? Like it was shortly
That
after.
was August. So we saw the drag show in April, and then you did the show in August.
Okay,
at
so
Club
this was a
Revolution.
very tiny gay bar that is no longer around. I think it was in Hamilton, New
Correct.
Jersey. I was doing a show. It was a 80s themed show, wasn't it?
Close. It was a Madonna birthday party. It was apparently Madonna's birthday.
Madonna's birthday party. It was my first time performing. I was wearing a shirt that said something about like Jesus.
I think Only God Can Judge Me.
Only God can judge me. That's what it was.
If we can find the photo, we're going to put it up
We're
right
definitely
now.
going to put that up. My grandmother was there.
Yes.
My grandmother.
Who else was in the cast? Or what other type of entertainment?
A male stripper was there. Yep, just for Granny. Got her heart rate going for sure. My father was there as well. And then in addition to my father and my grandmother, about 1.75 people in the audience.
Yep.
So it was painful. I decided to do a Madonna into Nicki Minaj mix.
Of
I thought
course.
that was
What else?
perfect for Madonna's birthday. So Madonna into Nicki Minaj and my Only God Can Judge Me shirt. And I was the girl. I was the one. I was so excited to come back and perform more, but unfortunately the club closed down. So that is when I bopped over to Philadelphia and I joined Drag Wars, which was a weekly. It was weekly. It was a weekly competition where the challenges were insane. Or I'm going to be honest with you, the producer was abusing the girls. I mean, the themes were things you would
That's been
never
proved.
use at another drag show. It was like, come up with a costume and a number if you were an intergalactic hillbilly. And you're like, what? Okay.
I remember your finale thing was Winter Wonderland Nymph.
Yeah, like it got crazy.
What that means.
But we made it work, and I will say that it was also a great way to learn how to do different themes and do different crazy things. So anyway, second performance, I joined Drag Wars. It is 12 to 16 queen competition, and
It's styled around RuPaul's Drag Race. It's essentially the same concept, but at a bar. They do a runway walk. They do a performance concept. The audience votes to determine a winner. There's a lip sync for your life at the end between the bottom two, and then it continues every single week.
So I had no business to be there. I've performed once at this point. I ended up, though, slaying. Like, I slayed hard. I will toot my own horn.
100%.
Out of 12 weeks, I won 7 weeks. 7 weeks I won. I was in the top constantly. I ended up placing second
In the
overall
entire
in the entire competition to a drag queen with, I think, over 15 years of experience
Something
at the
to that
time. They
effect,
were
yeah.
fabulous, but like for me to be so new and that, it was crazy. So that was when I knew, I was like, this is for me. Like, this is everything I needed to do, and it lit a fire under my butt. I do believe we kept trying to perform in Philly for a little bit of time,
Say about a year or so.
but
beyond that.
unfortunately, we did realize Philly was kind of getting I don't know if the word is monopolized or capitalized on, but there was drag queens that were paying people $50 or less. Yes, I was paid once $25 for a double seating brunch by we're not going to talk about that right now. But yes, I was paid $25 once for 6 hours of my time. And then the highest booking fee you can get is $50. So we quickly realized going over the bridge, driving 45 minutes, new costumes,
Paying for parking.
after a show that we were paid $50, we would walk out with around like negative $45 or so. So we quickly realized drag was not going to be working for us in Philly. So we had to figure out something. And that is when we started to figure out a way how to bring drag shows over to New Jersey, which, Jimmy, I believe you have a little bit to do with this one.
That is where I kind of come into this equation. So up until this point, I was essentially just chasing you around, kind of collecting your dollars, zipping your zippers. I think in the very beginning,
People are wondering, like, why is this kid in the dressing room? Bury that. Yep.
100%, 100%. I tried to be helpful to everybody, though. I
were
made a good
one.
reputation for myself. So beyond that, I didn't really have any actual stake in the drag community besides kind of following you around. But I had participated in a lot of drag shows. I had kind of seen a lot of bad examples of kind of like what not to do. There are drag queen event producers. There were just like these like guide event producers that were just kind of awful. I literally watched an event producer at one point in time pick up tips of yours off of a stage at a bar in Philadelphia and put $2 to $3 in his pocket because I guess he needed $2 to $3 that bad. That was one of the last times we worked for that person, obviously. But so I mentioned I had a career at ShopRite. Once you started doing drag, my time kind of got a little distracted, I will say, from my career at ShopRite, and I got myself into a position where I ended up leaving my career at ShopRite. Maybe there'll be another day and another episode where we'll dive into the juice. Dive a little further into that one. But once I left ShopRite, I ended up ultimately getting a job at it was a restaurant that was like a pizzeria and a bar in the town that I grew up in. So after working there for like a month or two, I had the idea that there was basically no real drag in South Jersey with the exception of like Atlantic City.
I didn't even mention that too. Like, so on top of the gay bar that I was performing at, the In and Out, aka Club Revolution, the gay bar that I was supposed to go to for my 21st birthday in Atlantic City closed the weekend before my 21st birthday. Like, I was like, wait, was that what it is? Maybe the one in Atlantic City was called In and Out. Maybe that's what it is. Anyway, I was pumped. I was like, we're going to be gay, honey. 21st birthday. Literally closed down on November 3rd, and my birthday was November 10th. So I was like,
remember that.
Oh, okay. Now I know.
I remember that. So yeah, I was working at the pizzeria bar, and I kind of gotten close with like the owners and the managers there, and I ended up pitching them a drag show, and they were honestly all for the idea. The place was already doing like a comedy show in this little like off the side party room.
They had a banquet room, yeah.
Banquet room, yeah. And so they kind of like already know how to set up for an event like this, and it was great. They told me that we would sell the tickets, and it would be great. So I made a flyer. I remember it was a Halloween themed show. It was like Mischief Night, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And we made a little flyer. I was all excited. It was like baby's first Photoshop. I was so excited to do everything.
You even got to the point where you sold the show out in advance,
100%.
didn't you?
Yep. We created our first ticket link, our first Facebook event, all of this fun stuff. And it was about 2 weeks beforehand, and the event was completely sold out. And I got a text message from...
Let me just tell you first things first before you even talk about the text. Do you know how amazing it feels to be a drag queen who just started performing? You have a sold-out show at an event. I thought I was RuPaul. I was like, this is incredible. You could not take me off this mountain until...
So about 2 weeks before the show, I get a text message from the owners of the place saying that they had to shut the doors effective immediately, and that we were going to have to cancel our show. So remember, I also worked there. So now I'm out of a job, and I also don't have any place for this show that's completely sold out. As Astala was saying, it was very exciting. It was her first like drag show that we were like producing. She was hosting. It was very
Basically,
exciting.
we were poor and embarrassed.
100% poor and embarrassed. And it got to the point where I like looked at her and I kind of was like, I'm going to go find somewhere to have this show, and I'll be back when I do.
He literally said, and I will be back when I find somewhere to have this show. And that was that. Like, he was going to find somewhere. I was confident by the way he talked.
There was no way that wasn't happening. Like you said, it was my first show ever producing, ever having any involvement with, and I would be damned if I was going to let some asshole cancel it on me because he didn't know how to run a restaurant properly. So I ended up kind of driving to a couple different restaurants. I made a couple phone calls, and one of our good friends, Shauna
Mason,
used to be our photographer at Landmark. She was connected with somebody that worked at a bar in another South Jersey town called Alligators, and we were able to move the show to that venue. They, accepted all the same terms. It was pretty much the same capacity, so we were able to just move the show basically like 10 minutes down the same road. It was wonderful. It was great. We got to the point where it was the day of the show. We set up our speakers. We set up the seating. You had your numbers picked out. You had your little hosting all prepared. Yep. It was great.
Horrified, so scared, so nervous.
We both were. It took me like 3 hours to set up 2 speakers, which is something that now would take me about 20 minutes.
If that.
But it was just this nerve-wracking experience. And we're both perfectionists. We wanted everything to go perfect. Everything had to go perfect. There was no way that
at the Alligators in Berlin, New Jersey. We needed perfection.
The place that gives everybody free popcorn in a little wooden salad bowl when you come in. That's the place.
Which I will say, though, they took on a drag show.
They did.
Props to Alligators.
And
support your local dive bars.
They've had others since us. I will never dog them.
They have. No, you're right. Slay.
So we had the show. It was great. Everybody had a great time. I think we sold out with like 80-ish people.
I think it was 80 people, yep.
And I remember at the night of the show, we had to turn away close to like 30 to 40 people that just found out the show was happening that night. They were so excited, but we couldn't fit physically anybody else in the room. I remember it was like sardines in a can. So we left that night. We did our first drag show. We profited from our first drag show. That was another thing we haven't even talked about yet. We made it a very big point when we started producing our own drag shows to pay significantly more at the time than anybody else in Philadelphia was.
You are 100%. I think that was a big reason that we started. We were like, I want to make sure that drag queens are paid an adequate booking fee. So we literally found what the highest booking fee in Philly was at the time, which was $75, honey. It was it. And we booped it up. We were just starting. We did what we had to do to $80. So we were not willing to pay a drag queen less than $80. I do think that having a drag queen as part of the company really helps that. I have seen some other event producers that don't do that, but I think when the person sitting on top of the company with Jimmy is also a drag queen, we know how much work this takes. So I was like, any drag queen that is doing a show needs to leave happy and feeling like they were compensated for their time. And that's kind of why we decided like drag queen entertainment needs to treat their queens not fairly, but like amazingly. And
we try to advocate for the people that work for us.
There's the word I was looking for. You're so good.
Look at me go. Look at me. I'm a thesaurus. So we realized we were onto something with our lovely little show at Alligators, and although they treated us lovely, we knew that we kind of needed a place that was a little bit bigger than the 80-person Alligators. So it took me a couple months, but we reached out to various venues throughout the southern New Jersey area, and we had the show at Alligators in October. By February, I had been in contact with one of my favorite venues to date that we work with, Landmark Americana in Glassboro, New Jersey.
Yes.
At the time, they were under different ownership. The new owners are even more phenomenal than the previous owners were. But we were able to meet with the management there. We pitched a show in February. By April, we started our first show at Drag Me to Landmark. That was April of 2016, and we have been there for 8 years, monthly.
Every month?
Now twice a month.
Yeah.
Yes, since we came back from the COVID-19 shutdowns, we have increased from once a month to twice a month.
Yeah, and I remember on that flyer for our first drag show at Landmark Americana, I was wearing the only Landmark Americana shirt that you could buy, or the waitresses were wearing, with a gold skirt from a thrift store on the flyer, and I was positive, I'm the next RuPaul at this point. Needless to say, the show did sell out. It was great.
Did we not sell 120 tickets?
I look back at that photo sometime and I'm like, you wore a T-shirt on your flyer. You better work, Diva.
You did. It worked well for the brand, though.
It worked.
It worked great. And then from there, so that was Landmark. From there, we eventually met with the folks at the Tortilla Press Cantina.
Yep, our longest running drag brunch.
In Merchantville, New Jersey, right outside of Cherry Hill. And from there, our brunch brand, Brunch is a Drag, was essentially born. We started at Tortilla Press with Chef Mark and his wife Lydia. Then we kind of moved from different venues to different venues and have expanded to where we're in multiple venues throughout the tri-state area at this point. We also do other nighttime shows. And kind of, actually, we didn't even touch on this. At this point in time, up to where we just started Tortilla Press, we weren't even Drag Queen Entertainment technically yet.
No, we were good.
I was very I wanted my moment in the spotlight, damn it. You were getting all the attention, you had all the fun sparkly costumes and everything, and I wanted my moment. I'm going to say
snaps?
My snaps. So, and plus every example I had of producers in the general area was always so-and-so presents or so-and-so productions or so-and-so this.
And look what's happened to every single one of them. That will be a whole nother episode that we'll talk about.
Oh, gosh. Oh, she went there. Yes. So,
Bird is the word.
You need to show Wolf that alone. Okay? Thank you so much. Anyway, at that point in time, we were operating our company under the kind of name Jimmy Boone Productions. We didn't have a website. We only really had a Facebook page. I think that was the most official thing we had at that point in time.
Instagram was becoming a thing.
Yeah, I don't think we even had an Instagram yet. I don't think there was a Jimmy Boone Productions Instagram. I can't remember.
We didn't.
So it got to the point where we were doing more and more shows at different venues and different bars. We started working with the folks at Rutgers Camden. It was our first college show that we were doing. Then we started getting booked for people's birthday parties, bachelorette parties, and that sort of thing. And it kind of got the wheels turning a little bit. There is no one-stop shop for kind of like drag entertainment.
No.
If you want to book somebody for your birthday party or a fundraiser, or you're at a college, or you work for a company and you're trying to do some kind of pride event or whatever it may be.
Where are you going?
Where are you going?
And then let's also not pretend right now that like the new people, the straight venues or the straight clientele that you introduce drag to is not a little bit diva-ish, I guess is the best way to say it. Where we've had to kind of make sure like every single one of our I's is dotted, our T's is crossed, because they are looking to I don't want to say hate, but they're looking for almost like, oh my god, this is drag, this is new, what could go wrong?
They're skeptical.
That is a good way. So we had to really make sure we were here. We have had venues literally show us videos of drag performances and be like, this is not what we want, what can you do? And we're just sitting there like, I guess step our pussy up a little bit. Damn. So dealing with new places that I've never seen drag before, it was scary. We really had to like be on our toes and make sure that we were providing an amazing quality show as we're just starting, not knowing what we're doing. Like
100%. We were charging people ticket prices to come see a show. So if you're doing that, it's not a free show. They're not just walking into the bar half drunk and then there just happens to be some kind of thing happening. They're coming to this event specifically paying an admission price on top of drinks, on top of food, on top of whatever else. So we had to make sure we were serving it. And I'm going to give you your credit. You have always been entertainment first. You have always acknowledged the fact that you're the person on stage, whether the audience is paying or not. You're being paid to some extent, depending upon where you're working, to entertain an audience. And you always make sure that you do your job. And every single person that we work with currently is in the exact same position as you were. That is what their main focus on. That's what makes the perfect drag queen entertainment performer, in my opinion.
I think that was a big reason that we decided to step our pussy up, if you will, in addition to the venues being so like on top of us. I think we also wanted to get our family to love drag and not be so weirded out about it. But we wanted to bring it so it could be something that anybody in any town could go to, not just like has to be a city. I wanted you to be able to be in a small town and you could see a drag show. And I think that is why we wanted to bring it to another level, to have people impressed with drag and have people be like, wow, that is amazing. They made that themselves. They did the hair. They made that performance themselves. That is incredible. So I think that was a big part of why we wanted to make drag level up a little bit.
100%. And even 10 years later, we're still at the point where we are Every time you're hosting a show at a new place and you ask, how many people is this your first drag show? It's at least half the room.
So many people. It's crazy.
So
I think
we are still like so many people's first introduction to drag. Yep. And what I think not a lot of people understand in the drag world, unfortunately, is that is a huge responsibility.
You get one shot sometimes.
One shot. Especially in this political climate or whatever you want to call it that we're in. They're trying to take us down already. So we get one first impression, one shot. That's it.
And how many times, though, have we heard, and like, it means so much to both of us, like, this is my first drag show I've ever been to. I didn't know what to expect, and I had the time of my life. Yep. Like, that reminds me why I work so hard behind the scenes, trying to make sure everything is, like, chef's kiss, because I want that person to have that experience and be like, you know what? I heard about drag from my Republican friend, but they were wrong, actually. 100%. I'll slay. I love that.
We'll get the, like, bald, straight guy that looks like he would never end up being at a drag show with his wife, and then he's the guy that comes up to us and is like, this was really good talk.
Are you talking about the security guard from Landmark that's a Swiftie?
Maybe. And the other guy from Landmark. But that's it. So yeah, then let's see. In December of 2017, I'm a dates person. You'll realize that I remember dates, and that's why I'm on this side of things, and she looks fabulous.
And that's why I forget the anniversary every year.
It's okay. I've accepted the fact.
Thank God for Facebook.
I remember the anniversary for you. It's okay. So in December of 2017, we had done our some few corporate bookings, some private bookings, some fundraisers, all sorts of fun stuff. But that's when we kind of realized that this could really be something bigger than what we originally planned it to be.
I did not think that. I want to let you all know right now. I was looking to just get drunk at bars. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to be sloppy. I didn't know if we were going to be together I didn't know where life was taking me. I was a mess. Okay, I'm going to be fully honest with you.
I'm definitely the optimistic.
I didn't have a plan either way. I mean, it was like I was living life where if I died tomorrow, it was what it was. If we're being honest with you. So he had more of a plan. I was more interested in what outfit I was doing next, what costume I was making next, and what performance I was doing.
No, 100%. And I remember in the beginning of your drag career, my main focus of kind of like following you around, I was trying to basically find an avenue for myself in this new world of yours.
Well, let's talk about what our plan was. I was going to get on RuPaul's Drag Race, right?
Drag Race.
You were going to be my assistant. We were just going to tour the world
manager
and be famous forever. We were living a delusion, a rulusion, whatever you want to call it. We'll talk more about Drag Race a little bit later in another episode, but I will tell you that is definitely not my goal in life. But I do not audition. But I think we kind of had this false hope of life that was ridiculous. We were like, we wanted to just get on Drag Race and tour the world.
We thought it was going to be like an instant fame.
We were delusional, full on delusion, Delulu Vista over here. Okay. And I think that delusion, though, by putting that delusion into the work that we were doing of, I'm going to do the performances and do this, you're going to help behind the scenes, kind of just built this unintentionally.
No, 100%. And at that point, like I said, I was still working a retail job. You were, I think, pretty much transitioned out of hair almost fully. Maybe you were working one day a week. I can't exactly remember. But there was always kind of this like plan to transition from these regular jobs, or whatever you want to call it, to doing what we do now full time. And so December 2017, we went through all of the legal and paperwork process of LLCing the company Drag Queen Entertainment, created a website, talked to all the performers that we were working with, created email addresses. I don't even remember all of the stuff that we did at that point in time, launched the company. And then within just a couple months, honestly, the private bookings, the corporate bookings, all of the fundraisers and everything that we had started beforehand just started multiplying and multiplying and multiplying. Having a company name like Drag Queen Entertainment, which describes exactly what we do, as opposed to something like Jimmy Boone Productions. I will give you all the credit in the world because I was holding on to Jimmy Boone Productions, trying to make it work.
And I said, I love you. I don't think they know who you are, though.
And you were 1,000,000% right. There is no reason for that Jimmy Boone Productions to have been the name of what we were doing. I love drag queen entertainment. It encompasses everything that we currently do and everything that we plan to do moving forward in the future. I don't think I would change anything that we've built for what we have today. I think drag queen entertainment and the mission behind it of taking care of our performers, providing a great show is everything that I think we both stand for. And I'm very excited for everything that we've built and then everything that we're going to continue to build
Same
from
here.
So we did Landmark, we LLC at Drag Queen Entertainment, and then I think the biggest feat of all that we ended up surviving, I guess, is the COVID-19 shutdown. As a result of that, we were kind of, right just before that, we were doing a very good job of gigging, going from this venue to that venue to this thing, but we didn't really have a solid plan as to what we were going to do and how we were going to achieve success.
1,000%. I mean, at that point, we were still living with my dad. We were entering our late 20s, and by no means were we not making money. We were making some money, but like, it was not enough to afford to live on your own yet. It was like, I hope this dream takes off. I don't know what I'm looking for it to do, but I am just hoping that something works out. I think that's where we were at. We were just going. We were doing and not time to plan or think. We were just trying to make something happen, but we didn't know what that thing was. And I think quarantine really gave us a little bit of time to like shut down and refigure out where we were going.
100%. And I think we should get more into what we did coming back from COVID as soon as we get back from this break.
Love it.
We'll be right back.
Hello, friends, foes, rakes, and hoes, and welcome back to the For Love of Drag podcast.
Hi, Astala. Did you enjoy our break?
I did. I'm very, very excited for you, actually, to dive into this next chapter of our drag, a.k.a. a time where everybody was bored out of their mind, quarantine.
Yes.
Or freaking out, one of the two. We didn't know what was going on.
Why not both?
Why not both?
So, obviously, we all know the COVID-19 shutdown happened, I think, March 2020, essentially. I forget the exact date, but March 2020.
During one of our shows, I believe, we were at a brunch. Halfway through the brunch, they pulled it. Yep,
right.
I remember that. I remember it.
I blocked that one out.
They pulled the food out. It
it was a 2-seating brunch. We had seating 1. We did not have
seating 2. They said at noon that day everything needed to be cleared out or something. I remember it was on the news. It was crazy. Anyway,
it was a specific time. No, you're perfectly fine. There was a specific time of day that we had to stop working. I remember that. That was crazy. I remember we had to literally make arrangements for people, and we thought that we were going to be back the following month. So the people that were in the second seating, we just told them to hold on to their tickets, and then we would honor them for the following show. And I don't think we've actually ever been back to that venue.
No, you're 100% right. You are 100% right there. I think we were like, oh, you know what? It'll just be a week. It'll just be 2 weeks. It'll just be 3. This is nothing. And then we realized, oh, this is serious. Okay.
I think the whole world was pretty much on the same.
We were like, all right, COVID-19 sounds fun, kids. And then we're like, oh, okay, this is the real deal. Gotcha.
And just to put things into a little bit of like personal perspective for us, you had left hair, I think, about a year before COVID, and then I had left my retail job the January before COVID.
Yep.
So here we are, all confident that we're going to be able to make ends meet, that all these gigs are doing great, everything like that. And 3 months later, neither of us essentially have a job. In the beginning, there was no kind of like any of that government assistance stuff or anything like that. It was literally like hope it works for you.
Yep.
And I'll admit, in the first month, maybe 2 months, it was a nice break. We were working very, very hard, almost like every single day, every single weekend.
I was sewing like 16 hours a day.
I remember.
I wasn't stopping.
It was crazy.
Yep.
It was the just after the era of the housewife dress.
I didn't have costumes. I needed to make those housewife dresses. That was an era of drag.
But I just remember being like terrified that I personally had made the decision to leave my job, and then this is the what we were met with. But after those couple months of relaxation, I feel like we kind of pivoted from there.
We learned how to pivot.
We did. We became full video production, streaming. I don't even know what the
world was going that way anyway. Everything is social media now. So we're like, you know what? I guess it's time to dive into online.
Literally. So we did our first couple online drag shows. I think the first one we did was the Wing Bowl, if I remember.
The Wing Bowl, drag queens eating serrano peppers, ghost peppers, eating wings, drinking hot sauce. It was insane.
How many celery sticks you could fit
How
in
many
your mouth.
celery sticks in your mouth at once? The event was so well attended. It was so much fun.
It was
It
a
was
good time.
insane.
It was a good time.
It was a blast.
And then we did, I think, a couple other just random drag shows,
Little drag shows
where the performers were pre-recorded this music video.
Yep.
These performers were crazy. They were doing all these intense things that looked like it took 2 weeks to put these videos together. Full editing, full special effects, everything like that. And then shortly after that, I don't remember exactly when, but we started doing something that we still do to this day, believe it or not, especially where we are right now. We're recording in Pride season. Sorry to break back the curtain here. But it's our virtual bingo events. So we started during COVID doing virtual bingos. Basically, they're held on Zoom. If you have never attended one, Astala, you're hosting them constantly.
Yes.
We have a digital bingo card. It's a lot of fun. People win prizes. And we started that basically as a way for us to have ends meet during COVID so that we had a little bit of income coming in. And it's now turned into something that we offer to corporations, colleges, whomever, basically, for a lot of times for Pride Month, but just for any kind of event that you're
And you're
looking for.
downselling yourself, though. That bingo behind the scenes is insane. The amount of work you have to do to get everybody their own cards.
I've created a monster.
You've created something that I feel like is like Minesweeper on a computer, to where if you do one wrong thing, it's over.
Oh, 100%.
I don't know how
They can
you
get
figured
fucked
out.
up real quick.
You're a genius behind the computers. I will give you that. You have found a way to make virtual events not just possible, but really fun. They're not awkward. It's not like, oh my God, this isn't working. It is like just being at a drag show, but virtually. It's honestly a little more fun. I really love it. I do.
I agree.
You get to get really raw and real with people sometimes.
And it gets us to reach people that we might not be able to reach just because of geographical
Facts.
restrictions.
Or just have never been to a drag show. They won't go to a real one, but they're like, you know what? Let me try this out.
In my living room. That's fine. I have my little cup of coffee or whatever it may be, and we're good to go.
I would say that bingo pretty much saved us from quarantine.
100%. And I think there was one other thing that you might want to touch on.
There was one other thing that saved us from being fully broke during quarantine. I don't know why I was feeling so sassy, but one time on Facebook, a little ad to audition for a show called Frogger came up on my page.
I remember.
And I remember my mom would play Frogger with me when I was younger. She had me at 17. I loved Frogger, and I was like, you know what? Let's just audition. I think it was April or May of quarantine on that time. Let's just send in a little audition tape. Whatever happens, it doesn't really matter. I auditioned. I got on within a couple weeks. They flew me out to Australia. I was in Australia for 6 weeks. They quarantined me out there. I will tell you, to be on that show, they paid me. Can I throw out numbers? Is that okay? I mean,
Sure.
It was weird. They paid me over $700 a week to be there. On top of that, I won $10,000 during my episode.
Yeah.
So 6 weeks of $700 plus $10,000.
And they gave you food money.
They gave me food money as well. I got an $80 a day stipend or whatever that's called. That saved us from quarantine.
100%.
The fact that I could be there just fending for myself. You were at home with my dad and the cats and the dog. And we made it through because of that. So with quarantine, as much of a negative as it was, there was some positives that came out of that.
No, 100%. And it also, I think we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, it gave us the ability to refocus and, I don't know if restructure is the right word, I guess it is, restructure our company to a degree to get it to a place where it could be something even bigger than it already was, and which had already exceeded our expectations. So once we came back from COVID, I would say maybe about a year or so after we were up and running again, we took the plunge to get our first drag queen entertainment office space that we rented.
Oh, our first office.
Our first office.
Honey, the neighbors upstairs. There were those kind of neighbors where you're like, should we call the cops right now, Jimmy? And he's like, don't get involved. And then you hear another bang and you're like, I think we have to call the cops.
It was.
But
It was
we
one
did
of
what we
those
had to do.
It was one of those 1800s buildings that was split into two offices at the bottom and then two apartments up top, and the people that were directly above us.
The girl was nice, but we called the man Igor.
Igor.
I remember.
He loved
he
to
was just
slam
this
things.
big man that had to go boom, boom. It was crazy. I'm just going to be honest with you.
It got to the point that after we left that office,
Yes, okay, so after we left, we were gone, we were done.
it was probably a couple months.
Yeah, months after we left this office, landlord texts Jimmy.
The landlord reached out to me and asked if I would send him a statement of my experience living under these neighbors because he was trying to go through the eviction process with them because they were so rowdy.
It was bad.
It was really bad. And they had a small child. There were times where water would run down the wall behind my desk.
Yep, they might. The guy would yell the occasional homophobic thing.
Oh, anything. Yeah.
Depending if we were
homophobic,
wigs
racist.
It was fun. It was a good
great.
time.
Good times. Good times had by all. But yeah, it was our space.
It was our space.
It was our
and
space.
We were like, we are doing this.
And the reason we got that space at that point in time is because we kind of realized that if we wanted to do more than we were currently doing, we were going to need some
We
help.
need help.
I was maxed out. You were maxed out. You were doing so much stuff you still do so much stuff behind the scenes, but you were even doing even more stuff behind the scenes then, plus all of the physical drag and performances and stuff that you do. So we got the office, and then shortly after that, we started seeking some in-office help.
Yeah.
Before that, we've always had a wonderful staff that works at events, helping us out. But we're talking like
never
back
directly
end,
behind the scenes.
like people on the computers, on the phones, booking gigs, sending invoices, all that sort of stuff. Before that point in time, that was all on me, and it got to the point where I was having to ignore emails because we were going to a gig because I had to work the gig, and then I couldn't answer the emails, and it just got too much. So it was like we were almost losing money by not having somebody to do
And I
this.
didn't even have faith at the time. I was like, I don't know, this sounds crazy. Bringing somebody in to help, I was like, we can do this. But I did start to see, it got to the point, I was like, all right, emails are coming in nonstop. This is becoming something. We need help. And we did have help just almost ready for us.
We did. So we had people that were currently working for us kind of at shows. So we basically put out an internal application with those folks. One of which was somebody who's still with us here today, the fabulous Sarah, Drag by Miss Sarah on Instagram.
We need to do a full Sarah podcast soon,
I mean,
just so you know
that is
what
a story
Sarah does
within
behind
a story.
the scenes. Yeah, it's a
between
lot.
her family life and all of the work that she does with the Chicago AIDS Fund and how active she's always been within our community.
I think that's going to be like episode 2, 3, or 4. I think that one's going to be coming very, very soon. All right.
I 100% agree with that. But we brought Sarah on board. She is now essentially my right wing, is the best way to put it.
1000%.
She does literally everything. She books every single event that we have almost anymore. She's constantly thinking of new ways to do things. We have an incredible event staff that works with us. We've expanded our event staff dramatically. We've had multiple interns who have turned into employees. It's become a bigger. I was always very optimistic with this. I'm not going to lie to you, but it's become a bigger and more beautiful journey than I think I ever expected.
I 1000% agree. I think another thing we haven't really touched on is the amount of colleges we are blessed enough to do. Let me tell you, I love a night show. I love a brunch. I love to drink. I love to have my Bloody Marys. I love to party it up. But there is something about doing a show for a college audience of kids who are still figuring themselves out in that world, and just to feel that like love and positivity about what you do is just so magical.
100%.
I mean, don't get me wrong, when Becky Bachelorette is cheering me on, I am living as well, but like just seeing like the love and excitement in a college kid's face. I am nobody, and I've had college kids cry meeting me. Like, I just know I'm doing something a little bit more when I'm out of college. So I love that you have made that part of our mission statement as well.
That's become my new happy place, I guess, is the best way to say it. The world we live in, the political climate, whatever you want to call it, is shitty. We wake up to fucked up messages every single morning.
I think we will do a
Kill
full
yourselves,
pod on
you're
the
trash,
things we
you're
see
disgusting,
like that,
all of that stuff. So when we get to go to these colleges and see the next generation, not to quote Whitney, but the children are our future. So seeing these kids that are going to be like the next political leaders, the next people that are running shit, for lack of a better term, it reinstills my faith in humanity slightly before I go back out in the real world again and see
1000%.
the shitty people that we have to deal with.
And from what I'm seeing too, like the next generation, like they are leaving their homophobia behind a little bit.
Oh,
I'm kind of
100%.
loving
Even
it.
like the jocks and stuff that would have like kicked our asses in high school.
I know.
They're like cool with everything.
They're like, bro, this homosexuality shit's in every species. Let's move on, okay? Like,
they're spitting facts more than we do.
Literally. Literally. But yeah, I feel like with the college market, with the nighttime shows, with the brunches, with the online shows, we've kind of just brought drag to places that it's never been before.
And I think that was something that we both also wanted to do. We wanted to bring drag to not only areas, but to people that have never seen it before. We both grew up in kind of like suburban, rural areas where there wasn't much of an LGBTQ population. Or
You know what the closest drag was to me? The Atco Raceway. They had a drag raceway, y'all. Okay, I think it did close down since then, but yeah, they had a drag raceway. So that's what I was dealing with.
She means race cars.
Race
drag,
cars,
not,
just so
not
we
a thing with
know.
drag.
Like men, like. Yeah, so that's what Astala Vista was dealing with when it came to drag.
Yeah, and there was I remember growing up and hearing like all kinds of like nightclub ads and this and that and the other thing on the radio, but there wasn't anything that like made queer people feel included or that we had a place to go. So obviously we all know that there's like the Gayborhood in Philadelphia or this, that, or the other in other cities, but just being a suburban gay as I grew
where
up,
else were you going to go to your first ABC Anything But Clothes party and wear a pizza box, Jimmy Boone? Yes, he did. He just wore a pizza box.
It's on my Instagram.
Jimmy Boone in a pizza box. That's it,
true.
kids.
And you in a bag of cat food.
In a bag of cat food, yes.
Just one bag, I think, at that point. But Astala, I have had a wonderful time chatting with you here today.
I agree. I think we gave everybody a smidge of an insight as to how we started, a hair behind the scenes, but like I also feel like we've uncovered absolutely nothing at all.
Oh my
And
God.
there is so much to really dive into.
This podcast is literally 12 years
this
in
was
the
the
making.
sweet episode, y'all.
Just wait till we like have everything 100% ironed out. We like literally just finished building this set like 15 minutes before we started filming. Wait until everything is like shit's gonna hit the fan.
Shit's gonna hit the fan, and the fan is gonna be turned on high. That's all I'm gonna say. So I guess we can leave it at that. Where can they follow us if they want to see a little bit more of For the Love of Drag?
So we have plenty of places that you can follow us. We are on both Instagram and Twitter. Nope, not Twitter
We're
at all.
not, girl. It's X now.
You're the social
showing
media
your age.
person. You're the social media person.
I do see too. Nobody calls it.
I know that.
You're
That's
good.
okay. So anyway, I hate social media. I'm not going to lie to you, but I am trying to do better, and I almost have 1,000 followers on my own personal Instagram.
Oh my goodness!
So-
Can I get an autograph after this?
After, yes,
fine.
yes. You'll have to wait in line. There are others. But anyway, if you would like to follow us and all the shenanigans that we have planned here at For the Love of Drag Pod, feel free to follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Ha, got it this time.
Ooh.
At fortheloveofdrag.pod. That is fortheloveofdrag.pod. You can also find us at Drag Queen Entertainment, at It's Astala Vista, and at Jimmy Boone. Thank you all so much for tuning in with us here today on their very first episode of For the Love of Drag Pod. I'm Jimmy Boone,
I'm Astala Vista.
and we'll see you next time.
Toodaloo, mother tuckers.